The first crack appeared at 0700 hours, Terran Standard Time, stretching across Europa's ancient ice like a wound in the moon's frozen flesh. Dr. Maya Chun stood in the observation deck of Research Station Artemis, her breath fogging. The reinforced viewing port as she watched the impossible unfold before her eyes. "Computer, magnify Sector 7 Alpha," she whispered, her voice barely audible in the sterile silence of the station. The holographic display shimmered, bringing the massive fissure into sharp relief. What had begun as a hairline crack during the night shift had grown into something that defied every geological model in their databases. The ice wasn't just breaking, it was peeling back like the petals of some cosmic flower, revealing depths that shouldn't exist. Maya's fingers trembled as she activated her personal recorder. Personal log, Dr. Maya Chen, xenogeologist, Station Artemis. Day 1203 of the Europa Deep Survey. We have a situation. Behind her, the station's AI chimed softly. "Dr. Chun, incoming priority transmission from Earth Command. Put it through." Admiral Kate Park's weathered face materialized in the com window, her expression grave. "Maya, we're seeing your telemetry. Tell me this is some kind of equipment malfunction." "I wish I could, Admiral, but every sensor confirms it. The ice shelf is separating along a perfectly straight line for over 200 kilometers. The geometry is too precise to be natural." The Admiral's jaw tightened. "How deep?" Maya glanced at her readings, her heart racing. "We've measured down to 50 kilometers so far. The scanners can't penetrate beyond that point. There's some kind of interference." A new voice crackled through the com. Dr. James Reed from the Geological Survey Team. "Admiral, I'm down in the drilling bay. You need to see this." The screen split, showing James standing before a massive ice core sample. But this wasn't the dirty, ancient ice they'd been pulling up for months. This was different, cleaner, almost crystalline, with strange geometric patterns embedded within its structure. "This came up from the 40-kilometer mark," James said, his voice filled with wonder and fear. "Look at these formations. They're not natural ice crystal structures. They're manufactured." Maya felt her world shift. In all her years studying the frozen moons of the outer system, she'd never seen anything like it. The patterns in the ice looked almost like circuitry, like some vast technological network frozen in time. "There's something else," James continued. "The ice around these formations, it's not water ice. It's something we've never encountered before. The molecular structure is stable at temperatures that should have shattered it eons ago. Every great bond starts with a single moment of courage. HFY Chronicle Stories is just beginning, and your support matters. If you love emotional sci-fi tales, forbidden connections, and stories that stay with you, hit subscribe. It's free, and it helps us bring more stories from the stars to you. As if responding to their discovery, Europa shuddered. The tremor ran through the station's hull, causing emergency lights to flicker. Through the observation port, Maya watched in awe as more cracks spiderwebbed across the moon's surface, each one perfectly straight, each one revealing that same impossible depth. "Admiral," Maya said, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what she was witnessing, "I don't think we're looking at a geological event. I think we're looking at something waking up." The com channel fell silent, except for the soft hum of the station's life support systems. 57 million kilometers away, Earth held its breath, waiting for answers that might change everything humanity thought it knew about their place in the universe. Outside, Europa continued to crack open like an egg, revealing secrets that had been buried beneath its frozen surface for longer than human civilization had existed. The revelation came 18 hours later. When the first ship emerged, Maya had barely slept, monitoring the expanding fissures from her makeshift command center in the station's main laboratory. Coffee cups littered her workspace alongside data tablets showing impossible readings. The geometric ice formations were spreading, creating a network of connections that resembled neural pathways more than geological features. Maya, you need to see this. James's voice carried an edge of hysteria as he burst into the lab, his environmental suit still dripping with Europa's thin atmosphere condensation. She looked up from her displays, noting the wild look in his eyes. What is it? The drilling platform at Site 7. It's gone. Gone? What do you mean gone? I mean it's not there anymore. The entire platform, the crew quarters, the processing equipment, all of it. There's just empty space where it used to be. Maya felt her blood turn cold. The crew? That's just it. They're fine. They're standing on what looks like a deck, but it's not our deck. It's something else entirely. The holographic display crackled to life, showing the feed from Site 7. Maya's breath caught in her throat. Where their utilitarian drilling platform had stood, there was now a structure of impossible beauty. Crystalline spires rose from what appeared to be a ship's hull, their surfaces pulsing with soft blue light. The human crew stood on a deck that seemed to be made of the same geometric ice they'd been finding in the core samples, but here it was warm and glowing. They're trying to communicate, James continued. Look at this. The screen switched to show crew member Lisa Park, the Admiral's daughter and their chief engineer, standing before what could only be described as a control console. But instead of buttons and switches, it was composed of flowing ice formations that responded to her touch with cascades of light. Lisa, can you hear us? Maya spoke into the comm unit. Maya, thank the stars. This is incredible. When the platform started shaking, we thought we were going to die. But then everything changed. The ice beneath us became warm, and these structures started rising up around us. It's like the moon itself is trying to communicate. Admiral Park's voice cut through the channel from Earth. Lisa, get away from that thing immediately. That's an order. Admiral, with respect, I can't. It's not dangerous, it's beautiful. And I think it's trying to show us something. As if responding to her words, the crystalline ship began to rise. Not flying in any conventional sense, but lifting itself from Europa's surface with the grace of a dancer. Other shapes began emerging from the spreading cracks, dozens of them. Then hundreds. Each ship was unique, crafted from that same living ice. Each one a masterpiece of alien engineering. Maya watched in stunned silence as an entire fleet awakened from its frozen slumber. The ships moved with purpose, arranging themselves in formation above Europa's surface. They weren't threatening. There were no visible weapons, no aggressive maneuvers. Instead, they seemed to be waiting. They're scanning us, reported Dr. Elena Voss from the communications array. But it's not like any scanning technology we know. It's more like they're trying to understand us. The lead ship, larger than the others and more ornate in its crystalline architecture, began transmitting. Not radio waves or laser communications, but something that bypassed their equipment entirely and spoke directly to their minds. The message was simple, wordless but unmistakably clear. Welcome. We have been waiting. Maya staggered, her hand gripping the edge of her workstation as the alien thoughts touched her consciousness. Around her, the other researchers were having similar reactions, some gasping, others weeping, all of them changed by the contact. They've been here all along, she whispered, understanding flooding through her. Watching, waiting for us to develop enough to find them. The fleet hung motionless in Europa's thin atmosphere, magnificent and patient. Each ship was a work of art, but more than that, they were invitations. Bridges between two species separated by eons of time and evolution, but connected by something deeper than either had fully understood. Humanity's first contact with alien intelligence hadn't come from the stars. It had come from beneath the ice of their own backyard, waiting for the moment when Earth's children were ready to take their next step into the cosmos. The translation came in fragments over the next 3 days, pieced together by humanities Best linguists, xenobiologists, and theoretical physicists working around the clock. The alien consciousness that touched their minds spoke in concepts rather than words, in emotions rather than syntax. Maya stood in the expanded command center of Station Artemis, now reinforced with additional personnel and equipment rushed from Earth. The station had become humanity's embassy to the unknown, though no one quite knew what diplomatic protocols applied when dealing with beings who had been sleeping beneath the ice for millennia. "We're calling them the Keepers," Dr. Sarah Kim announced to the assembled team. The xenolinguist had barely slept since first contact, her eyes bright with the fervor of discovery. Not because they've told us that's their name, but because that's the closest concept our minds can grasp from their transmissions. Admiral Park's image flickered in the main display, her expression a mixture of wonder and military caution. "What do they want, Dr. Kim?" "That's the remarkable part, Admiral. They don't want anything from us. They've been waiting to give us something." Maya stepped forward, holding a tablet filled with translated communications. "The fragments we've pieced together tell an incredible story. The Keepers aren't from here, they're refugees. Their original world was destroyed by something they describe as the hunger between stars. They've been searching for a species like us for over 1,000,000 years." "Like us how?" Admiral Park asked. "Young, curious, capable of growth." Maya paused, letting the weight of the revelation settle. "Admiral, they're not just refugees, they're gardeners. They've been seeding worlds throughout the galaxy looking for species that could inherit what they're leaving behind." The holographic display shifted to show the fleet above Europa. The crystalline ships had arranged themselves in a complex pattern, their ice hulls pulsing with synchronized light. At the center, the flagship had opened like a flower, revealing chambers that defied human understanding of physics and architecture. "They're dying," Sarah continued, her voice heavy with the sadness that had been transmitted along with the alien concepts, not individually, but as a species. "They've lived too long, seen too much. They're ready to rest. But they don't want their knowledge, their art, their dreams to die with them." Lisa Park's voice crackled through the come from aboard the flagship. She had become their inadvertent ambassador, the first human to make sustained contact with the Keepers. "You have to understand, they're not just sharing technology. They're sharing themselves. Their consciousness, their memories, their entire cultural history. It's like inheriting the collective wisdom of a civilization that's older than our solar system." Maya felt a chill run down her spine. "The genetic scans we've been running, they show changes in our DNA where we've had direct contact with their ships. They're not just communicating with us, they're evolving us. Into what?" Admiral Park's voice carried the weight of every human who would be affected by this decision. "Into something greater," Maya replied. "The mathematical models suggest we'll retain our humanity, but with expanded consciousness, enhanced intuition, the ability to perceive dimensions of reality we can't currently access. They're offering us graduation from our current state of being." The silence that followed was broken by a new voice, calm, ancient, and unmistakably alien, yet somehow familiar. It spoke through the ship's communication system, but also directly into their minds. "Children of the small blue world, you have found us in our twilight hour. We offer freely what took us eons to learn. Your species shows promise, curiosity tempered by compassion, ambition balanced by love for your own kind. We have seen civilizations rise and fall like waves upon a shore. Most destroy themselves before they reach the stars. Some transcend their origins but lose their souls in the process. You might achieve both." Maya looked around the command center at the faces of her colleagues, scientists, engineers, explorers who had dedicated their lives to pushing the boundaries of human knowledge. In their eyes, she saw the same mixture of fear and wonder that she felt in her own heart. "What they're offering," she said slowly, "it's not just first contact, it's transformation. They're asking us to choose who we want to become as a species. Above Europa, the crystalline fleet waited patiently for humanity's answer. Their ancient ships holding secrets that could elevate Earth's children to heights they had never imagined, or change them into something entirely new, the next phase of human evolution hung in the balance. Gift wrapped in ice and starlight, the debate that followed divided humanity. Like nothing in recorded history. Maya stood before the emergency session of the United Earth Assembly, the weight of her species' future pressing down on her shoulders. The great hall buzzed with tension as representatives from every nation, every colony, every inhabited station across the solar system argued about humanity's response to the Keeper's offer. "We're talking about irreversible changes to human DNA," declared Representative Chen Wei from the Mars Colonial Authority. "How can we make this decision for generations not yet born? How can we not?" countered Dr. Elena Rodriguez from the Luna Research Consortium. "They're offering us knowledge that could solve every problem we face: energy, disease, even death itself. We'd be fools to refuse." Maya activated her presentation, showing the data they'd gathered over the past 2 weeks. "The Keepers have been completely transparent with us. The genetic modifications are voluntary and gradual. Those who choose the enhancement will develop expanded consciousness over the course of months, not days. Those who don't will remain completely human, with no loss of status or rights." Admiral Park, now serving as military liaison to the Assembly, stood at attention beside the podium. "My daughter has been living aboard their flagship for 12 days. The medical scans show remarkable improvements in her cognitive function, her immune system, even her emotional stability. But she's still Lisa in every way that matters." The hall erupted in heated discussion. Maya could see the fear in many faces, the terror of the unknown, of change that couldn't be undone. But she also saw hope, wonder, and the same curiosity that had driven humans to explore every corner of their world and reach for the stars. "There's something else," Maya continued, her voice cutting through the noise. "The Keepers have shown us what's coming. The hunger between stars that destroyed their world, it's not gone. It's spreading through the galaxy, consuming entire civilizations. Earth isn't immune." The Assembly fell silent. "They estimate we have perhaps 50 years before it reaches our sector. Without their knowledge, without the enhancement they're offering, humanity won't survive the encounter. We need their gifts not just to evolve, but to live." Representative Anna Liu from the African Federation stood slowly. "Dr. Chun, you've been our eyes and ears in this first contact. If you had to make this choice for your own family, what would you decide?" Maya looked out at the sea of faces, every shade of human skin, every possible background, all united in their shared uncertainty. She thought of her daughter back on Earth, her parents, her colleagues who had become like family during their long months on Europa. "I would choose the enhancement," she said quietly. "Not because I'm eager to stop being human, but because I believe this is what being human means. We've always adapted, always grown, always reached for something greater than ourselves. The Keepers aren't asking us to stop being human. They're asking us to become the best version of humanity we can be." The vote, when it came, was closer than anyone had expected. 53% in favor of accepting the Keeper's offer, with strict protocols for voluntary participation and ongoing monitoring. Within hours of the decision, volunteer stations were established on every world and major station. The response was overwhelming. Scientists, artists, philosophers, and ordinary citizens lined up for the chance to be part of humanity's next evolutionary step. Maya was among the first to volunteer, returning to Europa to undergo the enhancement process aboard the Keeper flagship. As the crystalline ship's consciousness gently touched her mind, she felt something she had never experienced before: the vast, ancient presence of the Keepers themselves, patient and kind, filled with the wisdom of eons and the gentle sadness of a species ready to rest. "Welcome, child of Earth," Their collective voice whispered in her thoughts. You are the first of many. Through you, we shall live again. Through us, you shall become what you were always meant to be. Maya felt her consciousness expand, her perception of reality shifting to encompass dimensions she had never imagined. She remained herself, her memories, her personality, her love for her family intact, but she was also more connected to something vast and beautiful, part of a legacy that stretched back to the dawn of galactic civilization, around Europa. The Keeper fleet began to sing a harmony of crystalline voices that carried across space itself, a song of welcome, of passing torches, of hope for the future. It was heard on Earth, on Mars, in the asteroid belt. Wherever humans lived and dreamed, humanity's children were growing up, and the universe was about to discover what that meant. 1 year after first contact, Maya stood on the observation deck of New Arcturus, humanity's first enhanced consciousness research station, watching the completion of Earth's greatest undertaking. The crystalline shipyards orbiting Europa had grown beyond all projections, a fusion of human engineering and Keeper wisdom that produced vessels unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The ships weren't just machines. They were living entities. Their hulls grown from the same responsive ice crystal matrix as the Keeper vessels, but infused with human ingenuity and Earth's unique biological diversity. Each ship was partnered with enhanced humans who could interface directly with their consciousness, creating a symbiosis that transcended the traditional boundaries between pilot and vessel. The first fleet is ready for departure, announced Captain Lisa Park, Admiral Park's daughter, who had become the first human to fully integrate with Keeper consciousness while retaining her essential humanity. She stood before Maya in the ships. Garden, yes, garden, because human ships needed growing things, needed life and color and the sense of home. Maya nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. The Outer Rim colonies have confirmed the threat. The Devourers are consuming the Centauri system. We have perhaps 10 years before they reach inhabited worlds. The Devourers, that was humanity's name for the hunger between stars that had destroyed the Keeper's original civilization. Ancient entities of pure entropy, they fed on consciousness itself, reducing entire worlds to empty, silent shells. The Keepers had fled them across the galaxy, but there was nowhere left to run. Our ships are different, Lisa said, her voice carrying harmonics that hadn't existed in human speech before the enhancement. The Keepers ran because they had no choice. We're not running. Through the station's neural link, Maya felt the collective consciousness of Earth's enhanced population, nearly 1 billion humans who had chosen to undergo the transformation. They remained individuals, remained human, but they were also connected, sharing knowledge and insight in ways that made them greater than the sum of their parts. The unenhanced humans, the majority of Earth's population, had chosen to support the effort in their own way. They built the infrastructure, grew the food, maintained the colonies, and provided the essential human elements that kept their enhanced siblings grounded in their origins. It was a partnership that worked because both groups understood they were still one species, just with different roles to play. The Keepers are ready for their final rest, Maya observed, looking out at the ancient crystalline ships that had begun the slow process of deactivation. Their consciousness was transferring to the new hybrid vessels, their knowledge becoming part of humanity's legacy. We are content, came the whisper of the Keeper collective, fainter now as they prepared for their long sleep. In you, we see not just our successors, but our completion. You have taken our gifts and made them greater through the fire of your youth, the strength of your bonds, the fierce love you bear for one another. The first of Earth's new fleet began moving toward the edge of the solar system. 50 ships, each one crewed by enhanced humans who had trained for this moment their entire lives since the enhancement. They carried with them not just weapons, though the crystalline energy matrices could tear apart matter at the quantum level, but something more powerful, The combined will of two civilizations determined to make a stand. Maya watched Captain Sarah Kim's ship, the Harmony, take point position. Sarah had been one of the first volunteers, and her integration with both Keeper technology and her ship's consciousness was so complete that it was impossible to tell where the human ended and the vessel began. "Remember," Maya transmitted to the fleet through the neural link, "you're not just fighting for Earth. You're fighting for every world the Devourers have touched, every civilization they've silenced. We carry the dreams of 1 billion species." The response came back as one voice from 50 throats. "We remember. We carry the light." As the fleet accelerated toward their first engagement with the Devourers, Maya felt something she had never experienced before: the collective hope of an entire galaxy focused on humanity's children. The Keepers had seeded hundreds of worlds over their long exile, but Earth was the first to bloom into something capable of fighting back. The enhanced humans weren't just soldiers or explorers anymore. They were gardeners in their own right, carrying the seeds of consciousness and hope to worlds that had forgotten what it meant to dream. Where they passed, dead systems began to sing again. Where they fought, the darkness retreated. Humanity had found its purpose among the stars, not as conquerors or refugees, but as the galaxy's gardeners, tending the light of consciousness wherever it flickered, defending it wherever it was threatened. The universe was vast and often cruel, filled with hunger and darkness and ancient terrors. But it was also filled with Earth's children now, and they had learned to sing in harmony with the cosmos itself. The real story was just beginning.